Would you support someone who held a grudge against you for a lifetime? Dean Martin's brother, Bill Crocetti, lived his life hating his older brother. For 40 years, he didn't speak to him. He saw him as a family traitor. He thought Dean had gone to Hollywood and forgotten them. But on December 25, 1995, when Dean Martin died, a lawyer came to Bill's door, and the envelope in his hand revealed a truth Bill had been unaware of for 40 years. Dean had never forgotten. In fact, he had never stopped. Steubenville, Ohio, 1955, the Crocetti family's small home. Two brothers sat at the kitchen table. Dean Martin, now the famous Dean Martin, and Bill Crocetti, still working at his father's barbershop. "You've changed, Dino," Bill said in a harsh voice. "Hollywood changed you." Dean looked up. "I'm still the same man, Bill. I'm still your brother." "My brother?" Bill let out a bitter laugh. "When was the last time you came here to see me? It's been 6 months. I see you on television every night, but I never see you in real life." "I'm working, Bill. Shows in Vegas, movies, recordings." "Yes, you're working," Bill interrupted. "Making money, becoming famous. And what about us? Mom, Dad, me? What happens to us?" Dean took a deep breath. "I send you money. I bought Dad's house. Mom's." "Money?" Bill stood up. His voice was rising. "You send money and you think that's enough? We don't want your money, Dino. We need you to be here, to be with family." "I'm here now," Dean said, trying to stay calm. "For how many days?" Bill asked. 2 days? 3? Then you'll go back to Los Angeles, your big house, your famous friends, and you'll forget us again." "I never forgot you, Bill." "You're lying." Bill slammed his fist on the table. "Everything has always been about you. You got an opportunity and left us all behind. Working in Papa's barbershop wasn't good enough for you. No, you had to be Dino Martin. You had to be Dean Martin. And you expect the family to forgive you for that?" Dean stood up. For the first time, his voice rose too. "I didn't leave anyone behind. I left because there was no future here. I couldn't work in a barbershop forever. I saw a chance and I took it. And yes, I succeeded. But you're still my family." "We're family, but we're strangers," Bill said. His voice was calmer now, but more painful. "You don't know us anymore, Dino, and we don't know you." Dean pulled out his wallet. He took out a few $100s and placed them on the table. Bill looked at the money, then he looked at Dean, and in that moment, everything ended. "Take your money," Bill said slowly, "and go. Don't come back." "Bill, go!" Bill shouted. "I don't want you here. I don't want your money. I don't want to see you ever again." Dean left the money on the table. He walked toward the door. When he reached the threshold, he turned around. "I'm sorry, Bill," he said. "I'm sorry I disappointed you." Bill didn't answer. He just turned his back. Dean left, and he didn't come back for 40 years. The days after that fight were heavy. Dean returned to Los Angeles, but his mind was in Steubenville. The conversation with his brother kept playing in his head. "You've changed. You left us behind. I don't want to see you." Dean was having dinner with Frank Sinatra, Chasen's restaurant. 1955. Frank was telling a story, but Dean wasn't listening. "Dino," Frank said. "Are you with me?" "What?" Dean snapped back. "Yeah, I'm here." "Doesn't seem like it." Frank put out his cigarette. "What's going on?" Dean didn't speak for a while. Then he told him. The fight with Bill. What was said. The words, "I don't want to see you." Frank listened. Then he said something Dean didn't expect. "He's right," Frank said. Dean was shocked. "What?" "Your brother's right," Frank repeated. "You've changed. We all have. When you get into this business, you leave your old life behind, whether you want to or not. Your relationship with your family will never be the same." "But I love them," Dean said. "I know," Frank said, "but love isn't enough. They need you to be there, and you can't be there, because you're here, with us, in this life." Dean nodded. Frank was right, but this truth was painful. "So what should I do?" Dean asked. Frank thought for a moment. "Do the best thing you can. Support them from a distance. Send money. Solve their problems. But don't try to enter their lives, because you don't belong to their world anymore." Dean never forgot that night, because Frank had taught him a painful truth. Success requires a price. And sometimes that price is losing the people you love. Days turn to weeks, weeks to months, months to years. Dean and Bill didn't speak, not once. Dean had minimal contact with other family members. His mother Angela called occasionally. His father Gaetano never called, and Bill's name was never even mentioned. But Dean didn't give up, in a special way. In 1956, Dean did something, without telling anyone. He called his lawyer. "George," Dean said, "I want to set something up for my brother Bill." Lawyer George Thompson pulled out his notebook. "What kind of thing?" "An account," Dean said. "A bank account. Money will be sent to him monthly, but he'll never know where it's coming from." George raised his eyebrows. "He won't know? How?" "Find a way," Dean said. "Maybe through a company, maybe an anonymous donation. But he must never learn it's from me." "Why?" George asked. Dean looked out the window. "Because if he knows, he won't take it. He's a proud man, and he hates me. But he's still my brother, and I want to help him. Secretly." George nodded. "I understand." How much? Dean thought. Enough for Bill and his family to live comfortably. Rent, bills, food, everything, whatever it costs. "That's going to be a lot of money, Mr. Martin." "It doesn't matter," Dean said. "Do it." And George did. Starting in 1957, every month, a check began arriving in Bill Crocetti's mailbox. Sender: Ohio Community Aid Fund. A note on the check: support program for working families, no repayment required. When Bill received the first check, he was suspicious. "What's this?" he asked his wife Dorothy. "Looks like some kind of aid program," Dorothy said. "Maybe the city's doing it." "Why would the city send us money?" Bill turned the check over, examined it. It was real, a real bank check. "Maybe I applied and forgot," Dorothy said. "I don't know. But Bill, we really need this. The rent's late. The electric bill hasn't been paid. This is a blessing." Bill looked at the check again. Then he cashed it. And every month, for 40 years, the check came. And every month, Bill cashed it. And he never asked where it came from, because he didn't want to ask. If he asked, maybe it would stop. Years passed. Dean's career soared. Television shows, movies, the Rat Pack. He became one of the most famous people in the world. Bill Crocetti? Bill stayed in Steubenville. He worked at his father's barbershop, then took it over. He raised 2 children. He lived a modest life, but a comfortable life, because every month the check came. At family gatherings, when Dean's name came up, Bill would fall silent, or leave the room. Once, Angela mentioned Dean's latest movie. "Dino looks so handsome," Angela said. "Did you watch it on television?" "No," Bill said sharply. "I didn't." "Bill," Angela said gently, "he's still your brother." "No," Bill said. "He's a stranger now, and I don't deal with strangers." Angela didn't say anything more, because Bill's mind was set. It didn't change for 40 years. Dean Paul Martin died in a plane crash. Dean's son. He was 35 years old. Dean was devastated by the news. He completely collapsed. He was never the same. He stopped his shows. He appeared rarely. When Bill heard the news, he felt something. Something small inside. Maybe sympathy, maybe sadness. He had lost Dean once. Now Dean had lost his own son. Bill picked up the phone. He almost called. He almost said, "I'm sorry for your loss, Dino." But he didn't call, because 40 years is a very long time, and some bridges once burned can never be rebuilt. Or so he thought. December the 25th, 1995. Christmas morning. Bill Crocetti was 82 years old. He was sitting with Dorothy in their small house. The children had come to visit. The grandchildren were opening their presents. The phone rang. Bill answered. "Hello? Mr. Crocetti? Bill Crocetti?" "Yes. Who is this?" "My name is George Thompson. I'm Dean Martin's lawyer." Bill's heart stopped. "Dean? I'm sorry to have to give you bad news," George said. "Dean Martin died this morning. Respiratory complications." Bill gripped the phone tightly. He couldn't speak. "Mr. Crocetti, are you there?" "I'm here," Bill said, his voice hoarse. "Dean had a will," George said, "and he left special instructions for you. There's something I need to deliver to you personally. Can I come to Steubenville?" When? Bill asked. Tomorrow, if that works for you. It works, Bill said, and he hung up. Dorothy looked at him. Who was that? Dean died, Bill said, and for the first time in 40 years, his voice broke when he said Dean's name. The next day, George Thompson came. He had a briefcase in his hand. Bill took him to the living room. My condolences, Mr. Crocetti, George said. Thank you, Bill said. So, what did Dean leave? George opened his briefcase. He pulled out a large envelope. This is for you, in Dean's own handwriting. Bill took the envelope. On it was written, To Bill, please read, Dino. Bill opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and a bunch of documents, bank records, checks, receipts. Bill began reading the letter. Bill, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And maybe this is the best time, because there's something I've wanted to tell you for 40 years but couldn't. Do you remember our fight in 1955? At the kitchen table. You told me I'd changed, that I'd left you and the family behind. And you were right. I had changed. But I never forgot you were our family. I didn't tell you, because I knew if I did, you would refuse. You're a proud man, Bill, just like me, just like our father. And proud men don't accept help, especially from people they hate. But I helped anyway. Since 1956, every month, I've been sending you money through the Ohio Community Aid Fund. It wasn't real. I created it, just for you. My lawyer George handled everything. I paid your rent. I paid your bills. I paid for your children's school expenses. When your car broke down, I paid for the repairs. When Dorothy was sick, I paid the hospital bills. For 40 years, you never knew, because I didn't want you to know. Because if you knew, you wouldn't take it. And I didn't want you to suffer. The only thing I didn't pay for was your pride. You kept that to yourself, and you used it to hate me. And that was your right. I was never angry at you. I loved you, Bill, every day, for 40 years. Even though we didn't speak, even though we didn't see each other, even though you hated me, because you were my brother. And brothers don't abandon each other. They stand by quietly. Now that I'm gone, I want you to know the truth. I never forgot you. I never left you behind. I just loved you in a different way. I hope you can forgive me someday, not for leaving, but for not coming back. Your brother, Dino. Bill read the letter 3 times. Then he looked at the documents. Bank records, every month, from 1956 to 1995. Total, 468 payments. Total amount, $847,000. Dean Martin had financed Bill's life for 40 years, and Bill had never known. Bill's hands were shaking. The letter fell from his hands. He put his head in his hands, and he began to cry. Dorothy came running. Bill, what happened? Bill couldn't speak. He just pointed to the letter. Dorothy read it, and she began crying too. George Thompson sat quietly. He'd been doing this job for 30 years, but this was the hardest moment he'd ever witnessed. Finally, Bill could speak. I hated him for 40 years. He knew, George said, and he didn't care. How could he not care? Bill looked up. His face was covered in tears. Because you were his brother, George said, and he was doing what was best for you. You didn't have to love him. It was enough that he loved you. Bill looked at the documents again. 40 years, 468 checks. He hadn't missed a single one. What have I done? Bill whispered. What have I done? Dean Martin's funeral was held on December 28, 1995, in Beverly Hills, Pierce Brothers Westwood Village Memorial Park. Hundreds of people came. Hollywood's biggest names, Frank Sinatra's daughters. Frank was too sick to attend. Shirley MacLaine, Bob Newhart, Dinah Shore, and Bill Crocetti. Bill Crocetti, who flew from Steubenville, Ohio. Bill stood at the back of the crowd. There was no one familiar around. Everyone was Dean's Hollywood friends, famous people, rich people. Bill was just a barber from a small town. But he was Dean's brother. When the funeral service began, Dean's daughter Dina stepped up to the podium to speak. My father was a complicated man, Dana said. From the outside, he seemed to have everything: fame, money, success. But inside, he was a simple man, a man who loved his family. She paused. This morning, I learned something something my father did for 40 years, something he never told anyone. She pulled a paper from her pocket, Bill's letter. My Uncle Bill is here, Dina said. She looked at Bill. Will you stand up, Uncle Bill? Bill froze. Everyone turned to him, hundreds of eyes. Please, Dina said. Bill slowly stood up. 40 years ago, my father and my Uncle Bill had a fight, Dina said. And they didn't speak for 40 years. But my father never abandoned my uncle. He did everything for him, secretly, without expecting thanks, without expecting recognition. Dina's voice cracked. That's my father, Dean Martin, a star on stage, but off stage, a brother who loved quietly. Dina looked at Bill. Uncle, my father left you a message. You don't need to forgive me, because I didn't need your forgiveness to love you. Tears streamed down Bill's cheeks. But my father's wrong, Dina said, because you don't need to forgive him. You need to forgive yourself, because love is never lost. Sometimes it just takes us a long time to see it. After the funeral, Bill went to the casket. No one was around, just Bill and Dean. Bill placed his hand on the casket. Dino, he whispered, I'm so sorry. I lost 40 years. I wasn't there for you for 40 years. But you were always there for me. Every day, every month, for 40 years. His voice broke. I love you, brother. I always loved you. I was just too proud to see it. He leaned down and kissed the casket. I see it now, and I'll never forget. Bill Crocetti lived 8 more years after Dean's death. And during those 8 years, there was one thing he did every day. He would wake up in the morning, have breakfast, and then go to the barber shop. But he wouldn't open it. He would just sit in his father's old chair and look at Dean's photographs. On the walls were Dean's movies, albums, newspaper clippings. Bill had collected them all, everything he had ignored for 40 years. And now he read them all, watched them, listened to them, trying to get to know his brother, even if it was too late. In 2003, Bill died. He was 90 years old. At his funeral, there was something in his casket, Dean's letter, records of 40 years of checks, and a photograph. 2 little boys, 1930s, Steubenville, Dino and Bill Crocetti, arms around each other, smiling. Bill's daughter told those who came to the funeral something. In the last years of his life, my father would say something. My biggest regret is the thank you I never said to my brother. My greatest happiness is knowing I didn't have to say anything for my brother to love me. Today, in Steubenville, Ohio, there's a small museum, the Dean Martin Museum. In one room, there's a glass display case. Inside are items from Bill Crocetti's barbershop and a document, framed, Ohio Community Aid Fund, 1956 to 1995, founder Dean Martin, beneficiary Bill Crocetti, 468 payments, none missed. Below it, a note. True love is silent. It doesn't seek recognition. It doesn't wait for applause. It just gives. And for 40 years, every month, it never stops. People stand in front of that display case and cry. Because Dean and Bill's story is their story too. Lost time, unspoken words, walls built with pride and love. Silent, patient, never-ending love. Dean Martin never gave up, even when Bill wouldn't accept it, even when Bill hated him. Because that's what brothers do. They stand by quietly. For 40 years. And sometimes, the greatest gifts are the ones never spoken. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think of someone you love but are distant from, subscribe to this channel, share the video, leave a comment. Because stories like Dean and Bill's remind us, say it before it's too late. Forgive before it's too late. Because sometimes, the people we love most are the hardest to see.